Welcome to another episode of Engineering Influence, a podcast by the American Council of Engineering Companies. Today I'm very pleased to invite back to the show Erin McLaughlin. She is our Senior Director of Private Market Research, Resources, but research, because really that's what she does. She looks at really what's going on in the private markets. And she produces the Private Industry Brief, which is available up on our website at acec.org, which is a fantastic snapshot of sectors of the economy and where the AE industry fits. And the newest edition is out on commercial and residential real estate. And Erin, I kind of go over the brief, and I think you got a couple of takeaways for us.
Absolutely. So we're very excited because this is a very large market for our member firms. It's also, we're circling up on our second year of doing the Private Industry Brief. So this is the second annual issue that covers the commercial and residential real estate market. So looking at our top 5 trends, which we do in every brief, I'm just going to talk about the top 2, which are so impactful. The first one is that we are really increasingly seeing cities and states lead on climate change. And that is filtering down all the way to our developer clients who are under a lot of pressure to really basically create almost net zero buildings within pretty tight timeframes. So the cities of New York and Washington, D.C. have very tight regulations, as does California. And they join about 28 other cities in the U.S. who have already set energy benchmarking policies for buildings. So while this may stress out our clients and some folks in the commercial real estate industry, it really is an opportunity, especially for our MEP firms who, get to go in and retrofit systems and buildings. And of course, for our firms that also do significant architectural work, there's a lot of opportunity around how buildings, absorb light and heat and other things, and of course water. So that is very important. And then our second market trend is really, which is one of the hot trends of last year, is that in the commercial real estate industry, industrial real estate is still the hottest market. And
Really?
So that is the 6th year in a row for that. And, it's really being driven by e-commerce and by how we are changing the way that we are purchasing things and how we all want everything delivered within a very short time frame, which definitely bleeds over into folks that do intermodal and logistics private sector work, which I cover in the next brief, which will be out next month. So keep an eye on that. And the third takeaway, which actually has gotten a lot of traction, which was a bit of a sidebar on the brief, is on mass timber. Mm-hmm. And, we like to cover market and business development insights for our members. And mass timber is a material, but I think it will become a market because already there's just so much interest in it. So this really stems from the International Building Codes restrictions being loosened. And so the committee that oversees that voted last year in December to allow for buildings up to 18 stories in height effective in 2021 for mass timber. And right now they're limited to 6 stories in commercial buildings. And many, many folks just see it as such a sustainable material. And of course, that sort of lends to the question, how is cutting down forests sustainable? How is wood sustainable? But wood acts as a carbon sink, and depending on how the forests are managed and how close the mass timber sort of factories are that are producing, because a lot of it is very prefabricated. And the first mass timber factory sort of in the eastern part of the U.S. just opened earlier this year in Alabama. So I think we're going to see, maybe in a pretty short number of years, a lot of mass timber buildings. So structural engineers and others that are that are already getting familiar with that material type might have an advantage.
Yeah, that was something that Congressman Westerman, we were in his office yesterday to interview him for the podcast. Of course, he's a forester and an engineer and a member of Congress. He's the only forester in Congress. He's one of a handful of engineers. But he's from Hot Springs, Arkansas, and he mentioned the fact that Walmart is interested in building and designing its new corporate headquarters campus out of mass timber. That Adidas and some of the tech firms up in the Pacific Northwest are also interested. And when you think about it, if you can have, for example, in Walmart's case, if you can have Ozark pine or Arkansas pine produced and designed into the material to build the headquarters, in this day and age, that looks good because you can have, okay, we're an Arkansas company. Our buildings are made from Arkansas mass timber. That were, it was grown, it was manufactured, and it was, designed and constructed all in state. When you start talking about these larger corporate commercial buildings, there may be a tendency towards looking at those as a material.
This is one of those instances where you can see how doing private sector work and doing corporate, Fortune 500 work will sort of lead the way. Yeah. There certainly could be government buildings that are mass timber sometime in the future, but usually, we see the private sector sort of try these things out first, and then it might spread to the public sector. So,
well, if it catches on, I'm sure we'll have members using that in their designs, and I'm sure that we will in the future see some EEA winner or
cool.
EEA projects that are all mass timber. But it's really interesting that the industrial real estate is still the hot mover.
Still the hot market. It's not the sexiest market.
No, but it's
not
important.
the most expensive market, but it's still the largest and the fastest growing.
Well, I mean, this is going to be, we're recording this on the 1st of November, 2019. And of course, the job report came out, which is looking fairly good. Non-farm payrolls increased by 128,000. They were expecting 75,000, so it beat expectations. Manufacturing has gone down, but I think they kind of attributed that out to the auto strike in Detroit. But you see that continual expansion,
and in fact, it really comes down to consumer confidence. So if people feel their jobs are secure and the job market is still good, they'll spend money buying things on Amazon, buying things online, and sort of that, both that industrial real estate and intermodal logistics market will just continue to be hot as a result.
Yeah, keep on ordering stuff on Amazon Prime, and they're going to be building facilities to get it to you faster. Right. That's what it comes down to. So that's fantastic. So I understand that you're also working on the next brief that'll be coming out. Do you want to kind of give a sneak peek or preview on that?
So the two that will be coming out for the remainder of 2019 are the intermodal and logistics brief, which will sort of go into both sort of what we talked about, industrial real estate, but it also talks specifically about freight, airport freight development, ports development, and Class 1 railroad, which are really big clients in that venue. And then also our Q3 review. So we'll review sort of all of those economic indicators that happened in Q3 and how they affect spending in the private markets.
Fantastic. Again, the private market research that we're starting to do and get out there through the private industry brief, it's really good information. Really encourage everybody to go up online on ACEC and download it. We have all the back issues that are up. You can, it's very easy to get to and download the current issue. And Erin is here to answer questions. So if our members have some questions in the private market and they want to know what's going on, reach out to Erin McLaughlin and the ACEC crew, and we will be here to answer those questions for you. So, Erin, thank you again for the update.
Thank you.
And happy November.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.